Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 200th Tuesday training for practitioners who are here on a mission. I am so excited to celebrate with you all today. Oh my heavens, when I looked at the calendar and realized it was the 200th, I had a moment. Hey, Gary's got his party hat on. Oh, that's so awesome.
Hi.
Oh, Gary, thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. I like the way you do parties too. That's so lovely. Thank you for that. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad to celebrate with you guys. This is like more fun than when Tuesday training lands on my birthday, which ironically, I realized the very first one, thank you, Cheryl. No, it was the second one. The second Tuesday training on YouTube was on my birthday. And I don't even think I mentioned it. I don't even think I mentioned it that day. It's so crazy. But I've had like this really like nostalgic, rewind back through. So I'm so excited to share some of that with you guys today and also get into what's next because we have a lot of goodness already underfoot and we have more to go. So thank you all for being here to celebrate with me today. I'm celebrating you equally. I do want to take a moment and just say that this 200th Tuesday training um, is not only something I want to celebrate for obvious reasons, but I really want to acknowledge all of us because we've really committed to growing and being masters at our craft and for being excellent at the work that we do and with the people that we do it with. Like we've covered all of that in 200 episodes. I don't know what to call it. 200 episodes, 200 trainings. We've covered a lot of territory. We went from clinical practices to how do I talk to my client? How do I hear what my client isn't saying? What does the sacrum mean? What's the functional anatomy I'm missing? What questions am I not asking? Gina, what would you do? I did this and now what do I do? Like we've really covered so much in those 200 trainings. It's kind of gobsmacking. So I want to acknowledge all of us for the commitment into the growth. It's 200 hours of training. It's 200 replays. Some of you guys go back and watch the replays. Now that I have an assistant who sees all those analytics, she tells me this one's being watched a lot. So I know what you guys are searching for and what you're consuming more of. And so it's not just that you come live every week, but it's also that I know you go back and dive in for more. And that's incredible. That says a lot to me. And I really want to acknowledge each of you for showing up when it wasn't convenient, when the results might have been slow, when life was lifing. Like you guys have shared with me a lot that's been going on for you, and I've shared that with you as well. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, we've done this 200 freaking times. It's so good. But I want to also say that 200 times doesn't mean that it was flawless. And so as I was going back through the archives and finding the highlights of what you guys liked and where we could go next, I recognized it wasn't 200 consecutive times. And right away, my imposter showed up. She's like, "You didn't do 200 consecutive weeks." Da, 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 da. I was like, "Hold on, sister. I know that voice. We do leadership here too. I do leadership." So consecutive weeks is not the point. It's that I came 200 times and kept coming back. And so for those of us who really struggle with perfection, like it has to be a certain way, it has to, or else I'm less than. No, no. We also learned that along the way. And if you are still in the learning, let me share that with you, that it's about endurance, right? You guys all came in happy to celebrate with me on 200 times. Did any of you go back and check to see if they were every single week? No, because you wouldn't ask that of me. So we get to not ask that of ourselves, right? It's that there was endurance, there was consistency, there was moments of pause too, where I was like, is this even working? Like, what are we up to here? What is happening? The record isn't of the perfection, the record is of the commitment. And that's how we get to say it's been 200 times. And how cool is that? Oh, thank you, Gary. Yeah, we all get to be, I think authentic wins, and I also think commitment wins. And I think sometimes we forget that they can both coexist at the same time. We think either it needs to be perfect and easy and fast, or I've failed, or it's failed, or we think that we are less than and we're just going to keep expressing our less thanness, and that like none of that's actually true. You just get to keep striving. So For those of you who've been with me for every week since week one, I acknowledge you. I'm so excited that we're here still. And for those of you who've just joined, welcome, because this is like the best time. This is the best time. I'm no longer umming anymore. I went back and listened to as much as I could take of the first few episodes, and I was like, Gina. So it's okay though, because we're growing. We're all growing. So there were a lot of ums. I think I do still although I remember a time very clearly where I started replacing my ums for a different punctuation, and then I started saying so a lot. Like, so here's what's so you guys have probably heard me say that. I'm still a work in progress, but we have progressed. There was other things that I noticed at the beginning. Anybody here with me been, do you think maybe 200? Gary, have you been for 200? No, probably not. And I know Anna and Monica when you came in, and Cheryl, I know you came in sometime after Gary, but you guys have all been here for a while. So you may or may not have seen the early days. If there was such a thing as a blooper reel and I knew how to do video edits instead of body work, I would have made a video blooper for you because it's pretty freaking hilarious. I don't think anyone's going back and watching the first two videos, but if we start seeing the metrics go up, I'll know it's because you guys all are looking for comedy after today. So, and that's okay. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I have not deleted any of the episodes. I will not do that. I think that for those of you who are in mastery with me and in other programming, you know that we get to acknowledge our wins along the way. And some of that is looking back and seeing where you came, because the mountain in front of you is always going to look like the mountain in front of you. That's just the nature of what we do in life. We're evolutionary and we want to strive. So our brain's always going to look at the problem in front of us, and we get to train it to go back and be like, wow, look at that, without the shame and the guilt and the blame and the disappointment and all that. So if you go back and want to watch the comedy, I get it. But here's a couple things that I learned along the way. When I first came, I forgot this until I watched. When I first came to YouTube, we had been meeting in a Facebook group. The Facebook group still exists, and in that first Tuesday training on YouTube, I heard myself say to them, I'm sorry, you guys, I do keep coming live every week and I know you're not getting the notifications. So that was 200 episodes ago that we already realized that the social media algorithm was not in our favor. And now we have YouTube and data mining bots and all kinds of other crap that I'm learning along the way, which is cool for someone who doesn't want to learn any of that. But I realized that sometimes you do just need to change your structure. Sometimes the system is just needing a little bit of tweaking. And so some of you who are, higher level trained, you realize like, wait a minute, I'm not missing everything. I might be missing one little tweak that can make this whole thing different. And so we moved from Facebook into YouTube because I couldn't even remember how we got here. But I was coming live. We moved over to YouTube, and that was back in the day when like Zoom was still new and the registering was not familiar, but everybody was online. Now nobody wants to be online except those who love to be online. And I was apologizing. I was apologizing for folks, you guys, for having to put your name into the Zoom registration to get here live every week to train for free. Now, I'm not emphasizing the free. What I'm wanting to bring in here is like, notice how we don't recognize our value until we look back. Just like notice that. Like, what have you actually accomplished? Probably way more than you give yourself credit for, right? 200 times of coming online, and I was apologizing at one point. I look back and I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you feel the need to apologize for being generous? Interesting, because I don't do that anymore. So we've all grown and evolved, and that was one of the big takeaways for me as well. But I wanted to come live either way, whether we were on Facebook or on Zoom or on YouTube or on any other platform. I wanted to come live every week because it mattered to me that I be accessible and that practitioners like all of you, like I was, knew that there was someone that they could rely on for just some clarity, for some no BS, no sales pitching, hence the free, no sales pitching, no shenanigans, just someone that I could ask a question to if I needed to do that. And I'm not sure if that's why you guys originally came to Tuesday training, but that was part of my intention as a human, right? From practitioner to practitioner. I remember early on in my practice, I was up to something, obviously, right? I was hunting for something that didn't exist yet, and I didn't know that it didn't exist yet, and I didn't know I was about to stumble on it. But I was searching for something. And I remember many times just wishing that I could like ask someone the question or just even tell them what I was up to and have them remind me, you're not crazy. Like, you've got this. I really, really, really craved that for years and years and years. And so my intention, just as a person to a person and a professional practitioner to other practitioners, was just to be like a voice, like someone you could log into once a week and just like ask a question if you needed to or wanted to, and know that I wasn't going to fluff it or try to like steer you into like a paid programming instead of just answer the freaking question. So that I hope is still the undercurrent of what you guys recognize, because I still mean that when I show up. What I wasn't doing though is I wasn't coming with consistency and a curriculum and like, this is what we're going to cover today. So you guys never really knew what was up. How there ended up being like 8 people the first time, and then we had a Zoom registration list of over 340 people that wanted to be notified each week that we were coming live. How we got there without a structure is kind of fascinating. It must have been that undercurrent of intention that I'm not even sure I vocalized that kept you guys coming back, and I'm delighted for that. I would love to also hear from you if you want to share. Why do you keep coming back? I mean, I love it. I'm not questioning it. I'm not upset in any way, and quite, in fact, quite the opposite. But I do show up every week, like not sure, not sure, right? Because it isn't a structured program. There isn't an actual beginning, middle, and end. There's not an arc of curriculum. But I did start adding curriculum along the way, and I feel like that just added some more clarity and some more organization about what we were going to cover. And I started looking at what questions you were asking, and so what was in the gap. You guys hear me say that a lot in my programs. And everybody, I think, would say at the beginning that what they wanted was to be able to do better treatment plans. It's some version of that. They want to do better treatment plans, do better clinical work. Yeah, you guys are nodding, and I totally get that. And I want that too. I want you guys to all be baddies in the treatment room. I want to completely change the statistics that have existed for 33 years, that our industry average is 5 to 6 years. Like I want to personally like kibosh that. I absolutely want you guys to work smarter, more efficient, create tangible results, and have it be super easy on you and on your body. Maybe not easy on your thinker, because you got to like come in there with some chutzpah, man. You gotta be the clinical reasoner. You gotta answer based on what and implications. And I will never lighten up on that. But I also learned along the way in Tuesday training that I became a better programmer, right? Like I got better structure, but I also started seeing, like, after maybe 125 or 150, that the message kind of kept repeating itself. Do you guys think I'm repeating myself every week? Or do you feel like you hear different things each week? Repeating, Cheryl?
Um, well, there's a beauty in repeating. So there's
Yeah.
always a need for me anyway to hear things again,
Yeah.
which I appreciate that. But there's always mixed in with it. There's always new things to learn,
Yeah.
because sometimes you hear the same thing a different way the third time. So
Mhm.
repeating is fine, but I don't feel like it's repeating, like annoyingly repeating. It's
Mm,
it's a value to learn.
great. I love that. Gary.
Yeah, that's your process, which I think is what's attracting the people on this call.
Mm,
Um, we're all kind of looking for the same thing, and that is the easier way to get to this goal of pain-free.
mhm.
And like you said, we're working smarter, not harder. And those of us who have been in this industry longer than the typical 7-year dropout,
Mhm.
must look back like you're looking back and say, yeah, I must have been working smarter because I'm still in it.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I agree with Cheryl. The repetition is really important. And this ties on to this, ties on to this, ties
Mhm.
on to this. So if you don't have your basic anatomy, you can't tie on to this. It's that whole uh, the I forgot what you call it, the thinking process, thinking this through uh, to get to the what's the answer to the pain.
Mm.
Uh, there's it. I don't think there are any shortcuts to this.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about filling in the gaps, that's what you're doing. You're helping us fill in those gaps.
It's so good, Gary. Oh my gosh, so good. So good. So part of me is like warm and gooey on the inside listening to you. I'm like, yes, Gary, that. And the other part is, did I brainwash you? Who cares? It's all good. I hope so. I hope so.
This kind of brainwashing is really good. Sometimes we talk about an addiction as being bad,
Yeah.
and this is more like a positive addiction. Things that
Oh,
we are addicted doing because they help us and they work for us. So I don't know if we can call you a positive addiction, but it's pretty close to that.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. Well, I want to highlight on a couple things that you said actually, because I have seen a few things. At the beginning, in the beginning, I feel like that's either a Motley Crue song or the beginning of Star Wars. I can't tell which, but in the beginning, there was a whole lot of okay, I have a client with XYZ, Gina, what do I do? And I opened the door for that. I was like, I'm here. I want you to know you have an ally. You have an ally on your team. We are instant teammates, and I want you to win. Bring me all your cues. I will have you with an A before we leave here. And then there was a period of time, maybe 2 years ago, where I got no clinical questions anymore. And I thought, ooh, did I spook them or did I make it too hard for them to get the answer? Which is what you just said, Gary. It's not too hard to, I'm not making it too hard to get the answer. But that feeling of challenge, it's not hard. That feeling of challenge is actually my, that's what I'm bringing. Like that's my personal stamp on it. I'm going to continue to emphasize the need for you all to use your being so that you can feel empowered, that you do have your confidence, and you are also able to answer the problem clinically. More, and I've heard myself say this, you've heard me say this, more training, more quizzes, more perfect scores does not mean you can think through what to do clinically, which is why everyone bitches about my quiz questions because I make them so that you have to think through them. There is no multiple choice, check a box. It's always C most of the time. You'll get an 80% and pass. I don't even write my quizzes that way. And I get a lot of flack on my quizzes. Oh boy. Oh boy, do I get a lot of usually right through module one, mastery, Schatz method mastery practitioners. And that's okay because it's every year for the first 3 months, and then everybody calms down because we start using our brains differently. So I'm always that person, which doesn't make me everybody's flavor, but I'm telling you, for that hunt for the 200th time, I'm telling you, that's what I needed to do clinically to be able to even create my own method to solve the problem that I didn't know there was an answer to. And I didn't know I had the answer. I had to think about that. It didn't just like drop down by osmosis one night while I was sleeping from my angels, although that would have been nice. But it really required a lot. I remember my brain really working. It's one of the sad points for me when I got injured in December, when my brain wasn't firing like that anymore, because I really got used to liking that feeling of like, wow, I could think my way out of any, I have an answer. I know I can get there if I don't have it immediately. And some of you might have thought that I had immediate answers. I had to think my way to get there though, and then practice and practice and practice. So I'm always holding that tone, whether it's Tuesday training and y'all are dropping in for a free hour of zhuzhing, or whether you're committed to being with me for a year in a mastery program or anything in between. I still show up that way in all of those paths. It's never just a magic bean answer. And You mentioned something really also, another thing really valuable, Gary. Early on in Tuesday training, when there was a lot of client questions, I might not have emphasized the need for that depth of anatomy that you talked about. You talked about me telling you that, right, Gary? Like we can't just jump from our preliminary certificate or the next level of workshopping or collecting a bunch of CEs and then immediately jump into a clinical space and have the answer. You still have to sort through that knowledge that you had, that you were taught. You still have to sort through the knowledge. That's like, I keep hearing analogies to athletes. Like think about like an Olympic athlete or any pro athlete. They were good probably in high school, probably earlier than that. They were really good. And then they really committed, probably went to college and only worked on their sport and had a trainer. And then they got even better. And then they got a personal, private, paid just for them, salaried for the year to only work with them 7 days a week. And they trained for 3 years to have one shot at the Olympics. Every day for 7 days of every week, one-on-one with a mentor to get them that one shot at the Olympics. And then we think that we're going to just get like a couple free CEs online and then what? Right? Like it's like part of our burnout. It's part of why our industry rolls over because we don't have the mindset of an athlete, of a high striving athlete. It's the same kind of training. It's just different content. Instead of training your body on how many lifts you're going to do, you're training your brain on how many probable causes you're going to be able to sort through and have like understanding around, not memorize, but have understanding around. That depth of understanding is the athleticism in us. The depth of understanding is the athleticism in us. And so that takes commitment. And that's as you both, Cheryl and Gary said, you just got to keep coming back for more and coming back for more. It's that 7 days of training. Yes, I know how to do a double axel. I'm going to practice it again 7 more times this week and then 7 more times next week. Yes, I'm good enough to be invited to the Olympics and I'm still going to train my face off as if my life depended on it. Like that's the kind of training that's required for excellence. It's not just a checkbox. So I've observed that in Tuesday training. I've observed that in my other programming as well, that practitioners initially, when I meet new practitioners who, we're just starting a relationship together, we're seeking answers. We're seeking answers. I love that. I love this drive. Always seek for the answers. Sometimes, though, we get fatigued by that because we don't have a structure or a strategy in place, or we're not willing to change our brain. So we just hop skip a bit. We want a magic bean to drop down. Like this is going to be the technique that's going to be the technique because they marketed it really well and promised me it was going to solve all my client problems. And even if it were, you still got to train like an athlete with that technique. You got to have a depth of understanding. And what I've learned in my methodology and the way I work clinically is that it's never just one. I love techniques, make it easier for me. I'm all about efficiency. But it's also not just one perspective. And that is where I may sometimes confuse you guys and why the Schatz method doesn't make sense until you're in the programming for it. Because I have a very strong orthopedic lens. I have a depth of orthopedic foundation right out of school, working with physicians and the whole bit and PTs. And that's it for sure. You heard a bunch of people on the summit, this past summit, orthopedic, orthopedic, orthopedic. And I also have huge understanding and value in functional anatomy and optimizing biomechanics, not just how to move, but like optimizing the biomechanics. And those three don't usually live together. They're usually segmented out in our overall industry, and I absolutely weave them all together. It's part of the method. It's part of how I train you guys for your anatomy. It's part of the repetition. It's part of the depth. It's all of that. And so for those of you who are here and you really like that, I love that too. And I want to change that in our industry as well. I'm like, we could all be making it a lot easier on ourselves if we knew it all. And there's also a paradox, right? Like there's a big picture and then there's individual specialty scopes and then there's the big picture and then you have to kind of balance that. And I do clinically, and that's certainly what I teach. And it takes a while to amass all that information. So I think the shift happens we when we begin to recognize that depth is more appealing than skimming the surface, right? Like I think the emphasis I keep making, whether we're here again on Tuesday training or in group training, is that you get to immerse yourself and stay open to the insistence of your own improvement and assume you don't have the answer in your immediate and take yourself on to get clear on how you know that you know, right? Like really go into the implications of what you're saying based on what are you coming up with these conclusions. These are all like I bring these in level 1 in mastery in the Schatz method. I bring them in level 2. We talk about them again in the clinic in level 3. Like this is the way of training your brain. And to your point, Gary, if we don't have the anatomy to even have that depth of understanding on when it's going awry and needing our attention, well, that's sometimes where we also want to skip over. And so Tuesday training is really focused a lot on that anatomy because I want you guys to have the anatomy. It was the place where the very first group of practitioners I took through the Schatz method, I didn't give them all the anatomy. I just gave them the method and they struggled. It was like nose above the waterline for the whole time. And some of them were like, I don't even know what you're asking me. How do I do that? Like, oh, wait a minute. We don't have enough anatomy here. Oh, okay. Well, then let's do that. So I feel like if we just keep plowing through the anatomy every Tuesday for another 200 times together, then we'll have all that anatomy to then be able to take ourselves on with some depth. And we get more comfortable in that depth of thinking when we have a strong foundation. All that to say, I hope the math works, that that is not a weekend workshop amount of content. Even even here on Tuesday training, it's 200 hours. 200 hours we've already met on Tuesdays. And if you haven't been here for all of them, are you done yet? Because I haven't told you everything I know yet in 200 hours, right? So anyway, that's the integration. And if I were to invite you guys to think about anything this week is for those of you who are committed to getting yourself to the next level, ask yourself where you're still jumping too quickly in your answers, jumping too quickly into an assumption without knowing what you're backing that up with. Draw conclusions, yes, assuming and making it up, not the same. So my invitation for you is to identify where you're doing that this week. Just identify it. If you can see yourself doing it, then you can stop yourself from doing it. If you don't even know that you're doing it, then you'll continue to keep your brain really busy because it will always be busy. But you got to like navigate that, right? Like, am I just jumping to conclusions here, or do I have a depth in my assessment? So see if you can replace your quickness with questioning. Just pause for a second and just ask yourself. And if you're like, I don't like what that feels like, I feel like I don't know the answer to anything, and I don't like to feel like that, fine, come back. Come back next Tuesday and we'll workshop it out together. But if you don't know you're doing it, you'll keep being busy without creating what you want to create with that busyness. And that's my invitation and my wish for everybody, whether you're in a paid program with me or not. Yuri, are you about to add a comment here? It looks like you are. Sometimes I can tell. No?
That's the challenge of the hot seat we're talking about. It is, I know Anna, she's a warrior. She just, she jumps on the hot seat, and anybody who's on the hot seat and doesn't know all the answers is going to be uncomfortable. So it's a question of being comfortably uncomfortable, if you can say that. Okay, I know, I'm throwing my my rationale and my reasoning out here to be explored and picked apart and then put back together, and so that's not a comfortable process, I think, and it's part of why we resist
Mm,
going those next steps.
yeah.
It makes sense.
It does make sense. And I really appreciate you saying it. I'm sure you're speaking for more than just yourself. And, when we hear one person say it, we have permission to then be who we be. And I get it. I absolutely get it. I'm not in any way negative towards anyone's discomfort in the hot seat or resistance of the hot seat. But I will offer this, especially early on in Tuesday training without a structure, without a curriculum, without like, I'm going to come and I'm going to teach on this for 15 or 30 minutes and then I'm going to open up Q&A. And then even when I did, and then opened up for Q&A. Literally every Q&A is me on the hot seat. I don't know what you guys are going to ask. I don't know if I'm going to have the answer. I don't even know the context of your freaking question before you ask it. So I'm not uncomfortable. Hot seat doesn't feel hot to me. Hot seat feels like, I mean, it's a little like, yeah, let's go. What's this going to be? Okay, think, Gina. Think on your feet. Think on your feet, girl. You got this. You got this, right? And use everything you know. Ground into your belly. Feel your feet on the ground. Like you got this. I don't have to pause for 5 minutes anymore to walk myself through that, but that might be a place to offer yourselves. Because the hot seat is like, I wish we could call it a different word. And I think I might switch it soon or not. And then you get to just to watch yourself. And my level 3 practitioners say this, the hot seat isn't hot anymore. The hot seat feels like hotcakes, like let's go. That's where you get to watch your own evolution. If you continue to hold yourself back from the hot seat, if you're always here, not on camera, hiding in the background, not because you're with a client, but because you don't want to ever be called forward, then how can you call yourself forward? You can't. So, my wish for you and why I do keep showing up 200 times is so that you feel courageous enough to try. You got to try. You can't win the game if you don't take an at bat. You don't win the game being in the bleachers. You watch somebody else win the game being in the bleachers. So when it does come to a hot seat, this is what leadership is about. What meaning are you making out of you not having the answer? What meaning, what storyline, what gremlins are telling you that somehow you're in a threatening position by not having an answer? And and where did they get their fuel from? Because my friends, you literally are showing up every week because you don't have the answers. It's implied. It's implied. You're here because you want me to teach you something. I know that. Where would the gremlin come in then to be like you're at threat. Your life could end now when you ask the person that you came to learn from a question about something you haven't learned yet. Like really where like I'm being funny, but like honestly, where is that coming from? Because that voice is yours. I didn't put that voice in there. So you're walking around with that voice. You're leading relationships with that voice. You have a conflict with a friend or a lover or a family member, and you don't know what to do about it because the voice tells you that you're somehow whatever the voice tells you when you get in the hot seat. That's leadership. That's what gets in the way of elite experts who are like, I'm pushing through, versus hiders who want to shrink. That's the difference. It's not that they're smarter, it's they're more courageous. So when you get to a hot seat, who do you get to be in that hot seat and know I'm not going to die here? I might learn something. I might learn something that's going to help the next 15 people I'm in service to. Right? We started today by saying me being here 200 times wasn't about perfection. It was about consistently showing up on the hot seat every freaking week. You guys ask me questions every freaking time I'm on camera here on Tuesday training, Every week when I teach Schatz method, every time I'm in a one-on-one with an accelerator practitioner, there's not even another practitioner for me to deflect to. It's all me. How come I don't feel hot on the hot seat? Oh, because you have all the answers. I do not have all the answers. I just shared with you all the ways I did not have all the answers setting this lovely party up. I just figured it out. I was willing to have egg on my face a few times. I don't have to look perfect. I don't even have to have you like me. I prefer it, but I'm not here to have you like me. I'm here because my mission is to be a source for you and to raise the level of our industry. That's it. You liking me is a bonus. So I'm not in my own way when I'm on the hot seat. I'm not I'm not threatened by what I don't know. I'll just say, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't shame people back. At least I don't feel like I've ever had feedback that I've ever shamed anyone for not having an answer. So I'm just sharing all that with you guys because I'm on the hot seat every freaking week. And I don't melt and feel like it's hot. So if I could teach you that, I'm offering what comes up for you when you're on the hot seat. That's yours. It's got nothing to do with the content. And if you want some help with that, come to Leadership on Mondays. I'm there every Monday. Those of you who are in the club, that's what we do. We manage our mind. We learn the physiology of how our brain is wired, where it defaults to, and what autopilot it runs. If you don't know your autopilot, you don't even know who the captain is of your ship. You are the captain of your ship. But if you don't take the steering wheel, your brain will run on autopilot without you. So you get to learn how to navigate that. We do want our brain to do automatic things. I want it to beat my heart. I want it to blink my eyes for me. I have other things I would rather do than think about those menial tasks. So then what else would I want to do with my brain instead so that the whole thing isn't on autopilot, but I can select the autopilot parts? Yes, you can beat my heart and blink my eyes. Yes, you can make sure that I don't run into traffic. But when it comes to executive thinking, clinical reasoning, that kind of stuff, that's on me. Do you want to beat my heart and make me flush when I'm on a hot seat? Okay, and I'm going to talk louder than that and say, I'm okay here. I will figure it out. So that's mind management. That's the difference between elite and not. Honestly, it's how they manage their brain. Every athlete, I'm not an athlete. My brother and my nephews, my sister-in-law, like everybody's an athlete. You guys have heard me try to use sports analogies. They bomb. They're terrible. I talk innings on football and bases in soccer. It's bad. It's not my thing. But what I absolutely appreciate about athletes or any sportsman is they have discipline of their mind. Their disciplined mind is what takes them into the gym every day to work out. Not better muscles. I have the same muscles they have. They have discipline though. So it's the discipline of the mind that gets them to be excellent. And it's also leadership. I remember when my nephews were super little and they wanted to be on a team and they would talk about it as a family and then they'd get assigned onto a team and there'd be like a moment of laziness or lethargy or something else more exciting and they'd want to not go to practice. And my brother and sister-in-law were like, don't even think about asking because the answer is hell no. And I was like, why? I don't get it because I wasn't an athlete. And my brother said, how do you make a commitment to a team and keep your word to yourself and excel if you keep making excuses? You don't. I was like, oh, that's what they're learning. It's not about the sport. It's managing their mind and how they show up for themselves. With love in my heart for all of us, I am not a sportsman, I'm a body worker. And in our industry, my loves, we're a bit lazy. We're soggy. They're there. We have such big hearts that we're like okaying people to, identify with their pain instead of their leadership, instead of their discipline, instead of their commitment, instead of getting over the things that feel hard. And there's a nuance that comes to that for the work that we do. Absolutely. So don't misquote me here. But as a general rule, we spend our days focused on how to modify things because people are in pain. As a general rule, we don't spend our days being disciplined and committed no matter what. As a general rule, we're not training our brains yet like sportsmen. So we tend to get a little soggy and wounded, and it hurts when she talks like that, and why does she swear so much, and all the things. Sports people don't have time to think like that. They just don't even let it bother them. So sort of a long-winded answer, Gary, about the hot seat, but it is about mind mastery for sure. It's about mind mastery and recognizing yourself where you show up without berating yourself for it, just awareness. Have the awareness and then have the courage to change if you want different results. Okay, so here we are, 200 lives in, 200 Tuesday trainings under our belts. And we're not finished. It's not the finish line. It's not the starting line either, but it is proof that we have something powerful, that we have created something that's already underfoot. It's already moving. You guys are a huge part of that. I know each of you here who are in the green room seats or the club seats, we call them. Everything's got a name. Here in the club seats, I know you're all in our club. And for those of you who are on YouTube watching us live, I just realized I didn't turn on the live. So if you're giving us love in the chat, I will turn that on in a second and see your comments, my friends. But this largely is the invitation for those of you who are in the chat and a reminder for all of you who are here in the club seats. Our club is our professional practitioner education hub. It is our community where we all meet and go through a structured curriculum and meet live every week to train together and work through clinical stuff and meet with me and ask questions, be in the hot seat if you're ready to do that. And it's just like a really powerful place. It's not on social media, which is also super cool. And we have a specialty class each month, as you guys know. This month, November, or next week, our next new month in November, we have a 3-hour training where I'm going to walk you guys through orthopedic and functional laws of the body that are really helpful if you want to streamline your decision making in orthopedic sessions, right? It's like a way to create efficiency. It's a list that I've been gathering for a long time. Some of you who are here who've heard me mention a few of the laws. We're going to like workshop out how they actually apply to the body that's in front of you. So I really love this content. And for those of you who are not yet with us in the club, first of all, you're always welcome to join us as my guests for a week. And if you do join us as a member of our club, then you're included in that 3-hour training, which is November 4th. There will always be a replay, so don't let the live aspect of it deter you if that doesn't match your clinical schedule. But of course, if you're live, you get to hot seat yourself and be courageous. And so that's always fun as well. So for all of you who are currently part of the club, you're the foundation of our club movement and our community aspect, which is a huge benefit in something else in part of my vision for us as practitioners, that none of us work alone. And so you guys are all, of course, I hope will be in live attendance for that workshop because the celebration belongs to you as well. Wednesday, November 5th. Wednesday, November 5th. Did I say the 4th? Yeah. Okay. The class is, thank you, Cheryl, so much for the detail. I appreciate you supporting me. Let me be really clear. If you're in the club, our class is live on Wednesday, November 5th. Everybody here on camera, you're already there. So come and play. Hot seat yourselves. If you're not here on camera, you probably are not yet in the club, and you are invited to join us in the club. And when you do, I'm going to include that training for you. That's the foundation, the founders 200 bonus for our celebration for today. So we have another training coming up next week that will not be on YouTube. It's just for us in the club. All right, my friends. Do you guys have any last questions or anything else I can support you with while we're here for just the next few minutes of our 200th Tuesday training?
I'm sorry, what time was that again on Wednesday?
11 to
5th?
2 Eastern.
What time?
11 to 2 Eastern.
Okay, Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? You want to hot seat me? I'm here for it every week. Ready to be hot seated. Cheryl, you got one?
Um, yeah, I do. Actually,
Great.
I came in today thinking that I might want to walk through this, and I know we recently did, but just to get a little more clear on valgus knees, that's what I wanted to talk about. Um, just understanding from what I know, someone inquired about it, and just in general, how would we guide someone in working through strengthening to correct the valgus knee position. So, I mean, as I understand, you know, the femur is medially coming in, not necessarily rotated, right? Just moving inward. I know glute med does internal rotation and abduction. So looking at the muscles that are involved, and then also looking at the lower limb, the lower leg, the tibia would be going outward, right? So looking at the muscles there. So I was thinking through in my own mind, trying to do my strategic thinking and working through it and how to direct someone on how to address this. So
Okay,
I thought maybe we can talk through it for just a few minutes.
For sure. Okay, I love that you came already with reasoning. Cheryl, so good. Congratulations, well done. And for context, this idea came up in Cheryl's training level. We're working through MRI reports, and so one of our MRI reports also had valgus knees, and so we were working on what's the implication of the valgus knees, and did it participate in the MRI report, which happened to be on this person's foot, so there looked like there was a chain reaction there. Without going down the MRI report lane, though, although it's important to do that, and that's why I'm mentioning it. So we're right now, the question looks like it's just this, like just tell me about valgus knees, but it's never just that. Okay? So even as we're about to unpack just that, it's in a bigger storyline. Always is when you're working with the body. Always is. Even I'll now tell you, even in Western practices, I saw two Western doctors in the last 5 days, and both of them I asked a holistic, whole body question to, and they were like, I understand why you're asking that question. That's a great question. And one of them said, I actually tend to just like stay over here because this is what I'm supposed to focus on. I'm like, I get it. You're siloed. I want you to be expert there. She's like, but why don't you go ask this person over here? And I asked the same question to that medical doctor over there, and they were like, great question. Great question. So we get to always look holistically, especially when we're interfacing on our own behalf with a Western presence. All that to say, back to the mechanics of the actual condition that you're talking about, Cheryl. Valgus doesn't mean that the legs are going medial, right? It's that they're at an angle. Okay, medial would mean that they both move together, like adducted. That's not what's happening. So we don't want to mistake, we want to get super clear on what we're seeing first before we can figure out a solution. So thinking that something's adducted, medial towards the midline, you'd start looking at adductors. But that's not what we need to do here specifically. It's a different qualifier. So again, as I was offering us and the invitation I gave everybody today, like pause for a second and look bigger and deeper. And you're doing that, Cheryl. So that's part one. Are they medial? And you said the tibia would then have to be. No, you got to look at the person in front of you. The way the body adapts is unique. For some valgus knees, the tibia might do a torsion. For some valgus knees, the tibia might do, as you said. For some valgus knees, the tibia is straight. So don't make an assumption too soon.
Mm.
Like, oh, it would have to be. And I would invite you to answer based on what would it have to? Is there any other option? And this is level 2 as well. When you're positive that this is the answer, whatever this is, when you're positive this is the next approach in your treatment plan, whatever it is, ask yourself, what if that wasn't the answer? What else could it be? I do that to level 3 all the time. Great, great treatment plan. What if none of that worked? Oh, shit. Right. And that training will just take you into more depth. Get clear and then assume none of it would work. What else would you do? Based on what? So back to the femur. Femur are seated like this. Your instincts are strong to want to pull them away from the midline, down by the knee. And then what happens up here at the femoral head? So if the femurs sit like this in the acetabulum and the knees are knocked, see what
Mm-hmm.
happens to my hands?
Mm-hmm.
So what needs to happen up here in the joint? What needs to happen up there?
They need to come more together.
Stability.
Stability for sure.
Mhm.
So, okay.
What muscle?
TFL, glute med.
You got it. I would go there first. And then what would TFL do in addition to stabilizing that hip joint? What do you know about TFL?
Well, we know it uh, helps stabilize the knee and gait.
Is the knee involved here?
Absolutely.
Oh, bingo. You think you'd cover a lot of territory targeting those two muscles?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. It
Okay.
wasn't so hot. That hot
No.
seat wasn't so hot. You did it.
So what if it was hip dysplasia? Now, in understanding hip dysplasia, the acetabulum isn't actually developed, right? It's more shallow, if I understand correctly.
It can be a couple different orthopedic descriptions. Are you making this up or do you think that your client has hip dysplasia?
It may have. I don't know for sure.
Okay, so what's the basis of your question?
I'm just trying to understand the difference.
Oh, okay. Well, you'd have to know what it is, right? Like when there's an orthopedic discrepancy, you have to know what it is so that you can then get clear on the implications.
Okay.
But generally speaking, we already said it's the same answer, right? So if this is what happens with valgus knees, the hip needs stability. What if the hip design wasn't a good,
Yeah, it would
what,
still need that stability.
there you go.
You'd still need to work with the muscles holding that joint bones in place.
You would need to do alignment first though, because of the ligaments involved,
Right. Of
right?
course.
You can't strengthen a muscle and without irritating a ligament if you don't have alignment. That's maximizing the lever system. That's the training that we have on that.
Yeah.
But if it's dysplasia, you need to find out because there could be other, pathology there. Okay, don't skim too quick. Go deep and then decide.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Okay.
babes?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome. Hey, everybody. Here, cheers, water. Cheers to 200 learnings. Cheers to the next 200. I'm so excited. There's so much more. Thanks, Gary, for the party favors. I so appreciate it. Okay, my friends, I will see you again next Tuesday for Tuesday training. See everybody else in the club and hopefully live again next Wednesday for our 3-hour workshop. I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be a fun exploration for everybody. All right, my friends, thank you so much for the work that you do
Thank
and
you.
for celebrating with me. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye.